Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Afternoons with the Ambassador. Glad you all could tune in this afternoon. And with me, I've got my good friend and fellow Babylon 5 fan, Adega Outlaw. And to the chat, my moderator, Shea Storm Dragon, good afternoon. And to all of you who are here, happy May the 4th be with you. And to Mountains of Elysium, just another nerd. Good to see you both. Glad you could tune in this afternoon. We're going to be continuing our Babylon 5 Season 1 review, and today we're going to be talking about Sky Full of Stars. And a Sky Full of Stars, whatever way you want to say it. And Adega, how you doing, bud?
I'm all right. Just sitting here going to type out the nerd. Well, I'll just say it, man. You should be on the show.
Yeah, nerd, if you feel up to it and you want to come on, bud, and everything, I sent the link to both you and Adega on Twitter, so feel free to hop on if you want to. But yeah, this is going to be this was a good episode and everything, and this was another big world builder, honestly. So, Adega, your thoughts on anything getting started?
I'm with you. The world building wasn't so much focused on the wide range of things as much as it was on Sinclair, who he was, and why the Minbari stopped the war. It's giving you hints of what was going on, a little bit of foreshadowing of where the show's going to go. I think it's a really good foreshadower. It's not so much of a world builder as it is. I mean, it is, but it's, here's a hint at where we're taking you. Look down the tunnel. There's a little bit of light. We're going to shine it at you and see what you can make of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and to the let's see, we got a couple other people coming in, I think. Oh yeah, Aberjam UK is here. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in, bud. Good to have you. Yeah, this episode, it does a little bit of foreshadowing. It does build. This is a very Sinclair centric episode because honestly, we don't honestly get any time with like Shakar or Londo or anything. It's mainly Delenn, which is obviously a deliberate because of the connection between Sinclair and Delenn in this episode. And honestly, this is a little bit of a follow up to the last episode that we talked about, particularly with the two agents that come on board the station. You get the impression that these might be people that worked with Home Guard or something because of some of the comments that the one agent makes to Sinclair during their whole cyber manipulation and cyber interrogation session. So, Adega, any thoughts on that?
No, and I haven't looked it up to see where Straczynski went with this. I should have before we got on, but they're definitely not Psycor.
No, they're not Psycor.
And it doesn't seem to me like they'd be Home Guard because Home Guard doesn't have the type of finances to do what they were doing, and I doubt they had access to the equipment. For those of you who don't know, I know most of you do, but the Home Guard was basically kind of a rebel group within the Earth realm that wanted to defend themselves against aliens. They're a bunch of racists for the most part.
Yeah.
But there were also factions that were working for the government, which we'll learn about more.
Yeah, I think you're right. They might have been an early version of maybe Ministry of Peace or something like that, or Ministry of Truth. Something like that. So
right. Well, whoever they were, they had access to really high-end equipment.
They did, yeah.
They were able to shell out a significant amount of money to pay off the security, and they got weapons on board the station. Both of them had PPGs.
Yeah, and I will say a lot of the tech, except for the energy pod that they had to have the one security officer smuggle into them. Yeah, they had. You get the impression that these guys were very well equipped. They were very well funded, and this might have been a shadow op organization within Earth Force or something like that. Because you get the impression throughout the series that this is something that very much is a part of Earth Force government, whether they know it or not, is a shadow op organizations that are somewhat affiliated with Earth Force. And this might have been
Right.
something. Go ahead.
No, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we never find out. The
Mm-hmm.
only clue that we get is the one guy, when he's in Sinclair's mind, says, "You get, if I fail, somebody else will come and do it."
Mm-hmm.
They've got more than just him that has the ability to go in there and monkey with his brain. And also, they didn't use, which would you would think would be the easiest way, they didn't use any of the Psi Corps. So
No,
we
they
know
didn't.
that it isn't part of the vice president. I can't think of his name. We know it's not part of his underground group that's working with the Psi Corps because he's heavily tied with them.
Yeah.
But either way, and it could even be something equivalent to like our CIA or something where it's not necessarily military, but it's
Mm-hmm.
military-esque. Clark, that's the one. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the impression that I get, that maybe these guys were working for an organization that was tied to Clark somehow, because the interesting thing about this episode is it is a very you get there's actually a couple episodes that are like this or anything within the series, and you don't see this very often. I mean, except for maybe Star Trek, where you get a main character that's kind of in harm's way, in a big way in particular. And this was one episode. Come the Inquisitor was another, and then of course the one episode in season 4 where Sheridan gets captured after Garibaldi betrays him and everything, and he's in there with that interrogator as well. So
Right.
on 3 separate occasions in this series, you get a main character or main characters put under get the screws put to them in a lot of ways. So, and honestly, just another nerd brought this up. He's the 2 guys and everything who were I think were night 1 and night 2, because you see,
Yes, that's who they were. Night one, night
their
two.
designation. Were one of the best parts of the episode, and I will agree. Although I will say the main guy, I guess it was night 1, the one that was in Sinclair's head.
That's night
Some of
2.
his, oh, was it night 2?
Yeah,
Some
they
of
mixed
his
it up, but that's the way it is.
Okay. Yeah, because I recognize the one agent and everything from Star Trek 2, right at the con. He was one of Khan's people. He was the one that
Right.
kept trying to talk Khan out of going after Kirk and what have you. But his dialogue delivery was a little over the top, I think. But that's just me, truth be to be honest with you. But I could get the impression. I got the impression of what he was going for and everything in his dialogue and whatever. But the other thing that I really enjoyed about this was O'Hare's portrayal of Sinclair, because you get a lot of depth and a lot of insight into who Sinclair was, and he had his doubts about what happened there at the Battle of the Line and everything. And to the chat, Superhero Reviews, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hope y'all are doing okay, and hope y'all are enjoying your May the 4th. So, Adega, anything you want to?
Well, just another nerd said he thought he was convinced that they were the directive. The only thing about that is the directive never would get caught.
Yeah, the directive is not something I'm terribly familiar with, but
it's from my books.
Oh, okay.
They're a breakaway civilization, and they're really, really nasty.
Okay. Yeah, I've gotten the impression from your book that the directive is not necessarily a nice organization. They're a very manipulative organization in a lot of ways. But honestly, the way you've delivered that so far has been really, really good. So,
thanks.
But I will say the whole tech aspect of this episode was very intriguing. The fact that we have advanced so far with technology that we can do holographic manipulation inside a person's head. I think it's what they call a cybernet or something like that, or a holographic cybernet.
Yeah.
And what have you. That was actually a really interesting piece of tech that they cooked up for this episode and for the series. I don't think they've used it in any other episode. They didn't use any other seasons or anything. But honestly, I kind of liked that tech and everything. It was kind of rough looking, but at the same time, it was really, really cool. So.
Well, I agree. I think I'm going to have to. Season 3 and 4 may have to, when we get into there, may see something similar to that when they were roughing over Garibaldi and a few other people on some of these Psychor secret things. But
yeah,
I'm not sure. It's kind of foggy. We'll have to get refreshed when we get there. But
yeah,
it was pretty cool. And it may have to do with Elysium was saying earlier that Walter Koenig. I thought it was a different episode, but it could have been this one where he was supposed to play the part of one of the people, and they wouldn't have need the cybernet at all, because you bring in a P12 that can pull out whatever they want out of a mundane.
Yeah, pretty much.
But he was sick. There you go. And if you talk with Walter Koenig, he would say it was the best thing that ever happened to him, because the parts that were written for him afterwards is some of his favorite acting that he had ever done.
Yeah, totally. Well, there was some good moments in this episode and everything with the other characters, particularly with Delenn. Her interaction there with Franklin when Franklin's in the med bay and they're talking about their past and what have you, and in particular him doing his hitchhike across the stars as a traveling physician. And he asks her, what was your part in the war and everything? And she's like, that's a discussion for another time, doctor. And you're like, another piece put in place. She was doing something that she doesn't particularly want to talk about.
Right. And it's a good setup for the movie, too, in the beginning.
Yes, it was. Very much so. Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Delenn's part in all this and the Minbari's part in this whole mess and everything is it's amazing to me that they were able to keep this secret for as long as they were able to, and it didn't become widespread as far as we know among the Minbari population that in fact Minbari souls were starting to be born in human bodies and what have you. And you have that flashback when Sinclair and the agent are under. And you have that flashback to where that Minbari and everything from the pilot episode says there's a hole in your mind.
Right.
And he's like, what the heck does that mean? And then you finally get the reveal that, well, Sinclair got captured, brought on board, interrogated, and so on, and they erase his mind, or they erase his memory, but unfortunately they didn't erase it good enough, which kind of gives you the impression that maybe Minbari telepaths aren't as good as they claim in some respects.
Well, the books will tell you the human telepath was the superior by a long shot.
Yeah. Well, in particular, Lita Alexander, so. Because, well, not to mention her whole being toyed around with by the Vorlons and what have you. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see what that episode would have been like with Bester, instead of those two agents coming onto the station and doing their little thing with Sinclair. To be honest with you, because that probably would have built some tension right there between Sinclair and Bester, even more so, not to mention with the rest of the command staff. Because let's face it, Bester is not well liked. He is a very manipulative and a very mean, very driven individual. So.
Right. And another thing I see in the chat, two things. One, Nerd, yeah, they did do the changing Annette. Again, it wasn't in the original series, though. They used it in Legend of the Rangers. And Elysium has the point about how much season 1 was foreshadowing. A lot of people like it better when Boxleitner comes in, but there is so much that we get told by incidents, innuendos, little things here and there, and they pile up to where the whole season, once you start getting into the middle and towards the beginning of season 3, you're already prepared for it in a way, and it's amazing how well it was done.
Yeah, honestly, because this honestly was a very crucial episode in a lot of ways, because it really kicks off Sinclair's search, or the beginning of his search for answers as to what happened to him on the Battle of the Line. I mean, this is where he really starts to get driven, because at the end of the episode, you hear him say, "I am going to find out what happened to me."
Right.
And then it fades to black. He's like, "I'm going to." And, the whole dynamic of him being in that cybernet, being interrogated by this guy, and Sinclair fighting back and realizing, well, I may be being manipulated, but I can fight back in this mess, and I can do just as much damage to this guy as he can to me, in a manner of speaking. So I thought, honestly, that was a really interesting point. And here we go. Just another nerd. Afternoon, nerd. Thank you for popping in. I appreciate it. How you doing?
We have a nerd.
Hello, chaps. I had to finish eating dinner before I would come on, and
it's okay.
I love that picture. I'm glad you brought it with you.
I did too. So, nerd, your thought on anything we've discussed thus far with this episode?
I completely agree and disagree with everything you might have said.
Okay, well, that covers quite a bit, so you want to get a little more specific?
As I said in the chat, I really loved the bad guy in this. I love the way he was very, what would you say? He was very authoritative. He didn't believe he was doing anything wrong. He believed he was torturing Sinclair, entering his mind to get the right thing. And I think that was a great thing about the episode, because, normally you just have villains who are villains, but here is someone who doesn't believe he's a villain, and honestly, he actually isn't a villain, because in the end we do find out that Sinclair's memories are false. So where do you guys think the line is drew between, is he good or bad in this episode, the bad guy?
I would think, I would almost agree with you. The only thing is Sinclair didn't have a choice in it. If Sinclair agreed, or, because there wasn't any security issues, it was just missing information. And then I guess there is the argument that there could be security issues, because it had to deal with them almost being wiped out. But the fact that he was willing to sacrifice Sinclair's life over it, they took away his free will, then I would say, yeah, he's the bad guy.
Yeah, but would Sinclair ever have agreed to be mind probed in the first place? I don't think he would have. So you're left between a rock and a hard place.
I don't know. He went for the military. They did the debriefing on him quite a bit, and it was completely inconclusive, according to some people, and they wouldn't have dismissed it. At least I can't see any authoritative military group would have dismissed the issue if there wasn't a majority of the people saying, hey, we've gotten as far as we could. He blacked out. He woke up a day later, and that's what we have. That's what all the evidence shows. We're good with it. There's always those paranoid people who want to dig, and some of them are right and some of them are wrong. And, these guys, their hunch was that there was something else there, and they were right, even though they went about it the bad way. Willing to kill innocent people over, to bribe people over. Yeah, I kind of think they're the bad guys.
Well, and Fiona Wolf, she brings up a good point here. Maybe they have problem totally hiding memories from Sinclair because of his actual background, because he actually was part Minbari. He had a Minbari soul. Maybe the Minbari telepaths couldn't clamp down on him because of it. That's a possibility as well, because
he didn't have a Minbari soul. He didn't have any Minbari DNA. The Minbari got mixed in with the humans, not the other way around.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you remember, Adega, Sinclair had Valen's soul inside of him. He just didn't realize it. So maybe
see, that's the problem. The Minbari assumed that soul was Minbari when it wasn't. It was a human.
Okay, you're kind of losing me. Are you saying that Valen's soul was human, not Minbari? Because
yes.
I thought... Oh, that's right, because... Yeah, duh. Okay, now I'm following you.
Which says a lot about humanity, and I screwed up my camera, didn't I?
No, you're coming through clear.
Oh, it looks... Something's wrong on my end. Oh, there we go. Okay, I just had to change.
Oh, you're good.
It's okay, Dega. I'm sure the ladies are just happy enough as it is.
Let's do this. There we go. No, he was human, and it was his venture into the Minbari that caused human DNA to start mixing with the Minbari.
Right.
To where at the current period of time for Babylon 5, there was well over a third of the population had fragments of human DNA in them, and they didn't want that information to get out.
Yeah.
Actually, can I poke a little hole here? Remember, and again, spoilers, but season 2, it wasn't anything to do with DNA. It was that Minbari's souls, in part or in full, were going into human bodies. And that's what they detected with the wee triangular thing. In Sinclair was a part of a Minbari soul.
I have to go against you with that, because according to the novelization of it, they said that those triangles were made by Valen and given as a gift to the Minbari. Now, Valen being Sinclair, he used a part of his DNA infused in there, and the little machine that is there is meant to identify similar DNA. The Minbari just put it into mysticism over the 1,000 years. It became
myth. If you're going to bring up facts,
Well, and yeah, because
I joust with the goblin.
Oh well, he'll get over it. He's a big boy. Well, and Mountains of it. Dang, chat, you're on top of it today. Thank you for all you chat. Thank you for everything you're contributing. Mountains of Elysium brings up a very good point here. I like he's like the ambiguity. If Sinclair was what Knights 1 and 2 believed, a traitor who was being protected, why would that change how they viewed the two? How we viewed the two? They did kill to achieve their goal, but were they right? And that's honestly an interesting question, because, these guys were going about this very underhandedly in a lot of ways. Obviously, they were willing to kill for what they were doing, but ultimately, this was enlightened Sinclair in a lot of ways, as to drive him to figure out the truth of what happened to him at the Battle of the Line. So while their motives and their methods might work very dark or what have you, or illegal, whatever way you want to put it, the outcome was ultimately to Sinclair's benefit, truth be told. So
to Sinclair's benefit, but again, this goes to Nerd's point originally. Mm-hmm. If he was a traitor, and if they were right, there could be a lot of justification for them doing that. I mean, you start going into gray areas there.
Yeah, very true. Well, the thing is, he isn't a traitor. He didn't do anything to betray Earth or Earth Force or anything like this. It was all quite literally out of his hands. And it lends to the whole idea of, how do I want to phrase this? Fiona Wolf, yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to look into the comics, because there's a lot there I'm missing, and I'm a huge comic nut myself. because the problem is with this whole scenario, Sinclair is not privy to knowledge that others are, and you have that other scene at the end where he leaves Delenn's quarters and after thanking her for intervening with him and what have you. And you have the other Minbari, I guess he's a member of the Grey Council or whatever, and says, if something comes up, we're going to have to kill him. Because the Minbari are so driven to keep this whole matter of human souls inhabiting Minbari bodies and everything a secret, that they are willing to go so far as to kill. And it does very much go back to something that Jakar said to Catherine Sakai. Not everyone here is what they appear. So, and that is. Go ahead, nerd. Go ahead.
No, I think it's interesting to use a chess metaphor here. It's interesting the way that at the start, Sinclair starts off a pawn but becomes the king in the end of everything. He actually made himself this time thing is doing my head in, but he was the king who made himself a pawn to become the king, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense.
That does make a lot of sense, nerd. That's a good metaphor. I like that. Yeah. Because if you think about it, Sinclair, after he figures out who he really is and his bigger role in the whole Minbari society and what have you, he comes to realize that he can change things for the better and make things better and bolster the strength of the Rangers and everything down the road, because he is the first leader of the Rangers, quite literally. He is, well, as Zathras says, the one who was. He was the main reason why the Minbari and the Vorlons and everybody else was able to win the first war against the Shadows, because of his military knowledge, because of his strength as a leader, and so on. And he's very much the crux of the whole war going the way it does and everything. The first war with the Shadows, and in some ways the second war with the Shadows, because they are weakened by the efforts of everybody during the first Shadow War. If he hadn't been there to be a leader for the Minbari, they would have been, the Minbari and everybody else would have been really under the gun, and they would have been in a bad way if he had not intervened when he came back with Babylon 4 and everything, the station, to use as a base of operations. I mean, having a base of operations was one thing, but having a good military leader was another thing. And I think him playing that role was monumental. So
I have to completely agree, because you can have a base, and a base can always be taken down. They had a base before, the next base could be taken down. You know, they could throw in suicide ships. It's not beyond anything that the Shadows wouldn't do.
Yeah.
But having someone who has the mental ability, the public figurehead that could gather and unite and encourage, because these people were losing when he went back in time, and he was able to rally them, reorganize the entire, his personality. You think about it, you have a Minbari civilization, take like the United States, or some of you, whatever, European, UK, wherever you may be, say some outsider that comes in that has your accent, looks like you, and says, all right, this is how we do things, and they just turn it all over to this person who comes from nowhere.
Yep.
Granted, they had the Vorlons are kind of introducing them and everything, but even still, that had to be one heck of a personality that carried a lot of strength to them, where people would say, okay, we can do this.
Yep.
Actually, since our friend Ambassador here is religious, I just thought of something. Do you see any, just in what would you say, what's the name for a story allegory? Did you see an allegory between, God sending Jesus down, and with Sinclair becoming Jesus? Do you see, there's just something there that you know. I don't know
No,
about.
honestly, I don't. I don't really see any type of connection between those two particular
No, I don't mean in
narratives.
any religious sense. I just in like a story mode. All of a sudden this person shows up to save people. He's the one. You don't see any similarities there. Maybe with what maybe the writers, might have thought something like that.
Well, I know
Honestly,
that Straczynski was always hitting with, especially with Sinclair, was always the Jesuit angle, where he was the religious. He was trained to be that way. So I can kind of see, he's not deified in any way, except for, kind of in legend with the Minbari, just a hair. But
yeah.
as someone who comes in and rescues all the people, or at least gives them the opportunity to be rescued, yeah, there's a huge parallel with that. At least I see it.
Yeah, and Sci-Fi Nation brings up he brings up a good point. Sinclair becoming Valen wasn't him becoming Jesus. He went back in time was all. So, and speakers, he also made a speaker for the dead. He's like, Sinclair isn't a savior. He was just seen as a great leader, and I would think that's accurate because Valen didn't necessarily, or Sinclair as Valen didn't try and reform the spiritual life of the Minbari in any real way, as far as I know. The main thing he did was he set up the Great Council. He wrote down the prophecy of everything he would know up until he left the future to come to the past. He had his role as the leader during the first Shadow War and what have you. But no, I would not see him as a savior. I wouldn't see him as anything, any type of deity. I think what the Minbari did with Sinclair with Valen was they built a mythos around him, a legend and everything. But he wasn't somebody that they worshipped. He was somebody they very much greatly respected. He was a moral and a great military leader, but he wasn't anything along the lines of a spiritual or religious leader.
I don't want to speak for Nerd, but I don't think he was talking religious, though. I think he was just talking, here comes the figurehead leader out of nowhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't going that deep with it. It was
okay.
just. But if you want an even harder question, should Earth Force, charge the Minbari for 1,000 years of rent on B4?
Okay. Okay. Speaker makes a good point. Valen would be more of a Moses comparison. That I would agree with. Anything that I would very much agree with. Anything if you want to make a comparison between Valen and a biblical figure, I would say he's more of a Moses or maybe one of the judges. Anything from the Book of Judges in the Old Testament. So. And to the chat, Mac World Entertainment, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So, but no, I think Sinclair's role as Valen was much more of to an extent a political leader and a military leader more so than anything. So, I wouldn't see him. I can't make a connection between him and Jesus to any extreme. Anything if that answers your question, or I really don't. I can't make. There aren't enough threads there, or any threads at all, or anything that I can link those two narratives together in any meaningful way.
No, I just thought it'd be interesting to explore something outside the box.
Yeah,
I would think it would be more like a David.
Yeah, I think that would be.
He comes in and slays the Goliath,
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I could definitely that one. I could definitely make a connection with. Well, and here's the thing: you could even make a connection between Sinclair as Valen and Paul Atreides from Dune, because the Minbari so much revered and so much respected Valen that they took his word as law for so long that it almost cause them to implode in some ways and go into civil war. And that's very true of what Herbert was trying to do with Paul Atreides in the Dune novels, is a good deconstruction of the whole main hero and protagonist character that grows beyond his legend or what have you, or grows beyond his actual role in the world that he existed in. Because if you think about it, the Minbari became so dogmatic about their respect and reverence for lack of a better word, of Valen, that they went to extreme lengths to keep the secret of the fact that human souls and Minbari souls were mixing or mingling into the other race's birth line and what have you, or bloodline or whatever. And it even raises a deeper question about this whole idea: can souls really be born into different bodies? That's a very deep and very spiritual question in a lot of ways. And I think for the Minbari, it's something that kind of caused them to go backwards and not progress in a meaningful way for a long time. So,
yeah, I think Sci-Fi Nation makes a good point in the
I was about to say that too. Sci-Fi's nailing it.
Yeah, Sci-Fi is to B5 as Kahless is to Star Trek. Yeah, I would agree with that. Because Kahless was not a mythical figure. He just had a myth built around him. Because if you remember, I imagine both of you have seen the episode from Next Generation where they have the clone of Kahless and everything appear before Worf. And then they come to realize, ooh, we've got a big problem here. How the hell are we going to cover it up? So, and they keep the clone of Kahless on as a figurehead and everything, as Worf suggests. Keep him on as a figurehead, but still have the power there with the High Council and the and what have you. So,
yeah, which I think comes to Kahless, I preferred the DS9 episode where they found his bat'leth and then threw it into space because they knew it would cause more harm than good.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that episode because unfortunately I kind of fell out. I didn't have a falling out, but I didn't get a chance to watch everything for DS9 because I just didn't have the time when it was running. So y'all will have to fill me in on that one. So,
well, Nerd will know more about it than I would. So, I mean, I remember the episode and I agree with them, because they had the other one where they cloned Kahless, but pitching his bat'leth was awesome.
Okay.
Well, the reason I remember that episode so well is because, Jadzia was in it. So, enough said.
Oh, yeah. Of course. You dirty old man.
Hey, enough of the old.
Okay, you dirty young man.
Let's just go with dirty goblin.
It's appropriate for a goblin. Let it go.
You dirty stinking. Get your dirty thoughts out of here, you dirty stinking goblin. Sorry.
No, perfectly all right.
So, well, guys, any other thoughts or anything? Because I know Adega's got another stream he's got to get onto here in a little bit and everything. So any other thoughts you want to give on this episode or anything that we've talked about thus far?
Nerd first.
Not to kind of think offhand now, but like, yeah.
Okay, Adega?
There was something that I was going over, but man, the chat has been tearing it up today. We've got some real intelligence.
Nerds?
B5 associated comments going through here. No, there was something I'm trying to think about. I'm trying to remember what it was. It had something to do with a parallel, but I can't remember. It was not quite foreshadowing, but it'll come to me in a second. And it was kind of important too. I do that a lot nowadays. Just forget things. I guess it's my age. I'm older than the Goblin, I think.
Well, I think you're a little old. I think you're a little older than me, but not by much.
Oh, I'm a lot older than you.
Sure, you are.
I got you by 10 years, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's a bit.
So. Hang on. There's no way you can be 10 years older than Imposter being. I mean, no offense to you, Imposter, here, but seriously, you don't look that old, lad. I dig it.
Yeah, 52.
I'll be 42 in September. So yeah,
there's no way you're 52.
Yeah, I am.
He has good genes.
Nah, you take care of yourself. You know, that's why I'm able to live with cancer since 2012. You know, I still got a few years in me. Mm-hmm. You do things right, you can fight this stuff off.
That's true. So,
including looking old or looking like a goblin.
Yeah, well, that's why I chose it, because I probably look more like fucking. Oh, whoops, sorry.
Oh, nerd. Dude, you're fine.
I love Nerd. He's awesome.
My show is not intended for children.
Yes, but I do like to put at least the facade of, being eloquent in some way.
Well, even if it makes you feel better, nerd, even Martin Luther swore on occasion, and we know he had his problems. So, well, my overall thoughts on the episode: it's a top-notch. It's a good episode. It gives you a good basis for what's to come later on in the series and what have you. And if you have not watched it already and we haven't completely spoiled it, go watch it. Go watch it.
I remembered what it was now. Sorry.
No, okay. Go ahead.
It's a general theme Straczynski brings up over and over and over again, and it's more about the author than it is about the show. Mm-hmm. Because those of you who have watched my little thing about how to write and how you communicate with people, you do it through three ways. You do it through the mind, you do it through the heart, you do it through words or language. And he has repetitive where you get into Sinclair's mind, you get into Ivanova's mind. She has those dreams and visions. You get into the Psychor over and over, delving into people's thoughts. You have both of the telepaths that work on Babylon 5. You have to get into the mind with them over and over and over. It's all about the mind, overcoming the mind. He's big on that.
Yeah, very true. I mean, Straczynski very much played on certain themes throughout this entire show, and honestly, I think one of these days I really want to kind of do a deep dive on this whole idea of, can souls be malleable in some way within the B5 universe?
I just have to say, the Speaker of the Dead, great response.
There is not a person in chat that isn't a great person. I enjoy being around every single one of them. Welcome, Mando. I know you're late, but hello.
And Mando Merck, good to see you. Glad you could tune in. We're actually be wrapping up, so you'll have to catch us on the replay. Because Adega's got another stream. He's got to be on here shortly, so I don't want to keep him any longer than absolutely necessary. And honestly, I think we've covered this episode pretty well.
Yeah, there was just the one main storyline for the most part. Little teeny tidbits. You learn a little bit about Franklin. A little bit about. That was something I wanted to bring up because I still got 15 minutes. That's what I was thinking of.
Adega, if you wouldn't mind, put a link to the stream you're on Twitter so I can come and annoy you there.
Oh, okay. It's 4T and Barber. But here Sinclair got free. He's shooting people. He shot at his own security officers.
Yeah.
He's shooting at Garibaldi, his good friend. And Delenn shows up. Mm-hmm. Well, he remembers being tortured. And he remembers them interrogating him. Why, out of all those people, out of the ones that hurt him during a war that he fought against, would she be the one to disarm him? Mm-hmm. Any thoughts?
My only guess is maybe there's some sort of link there between the two of them that we just don't know about or what have you. And that's how she's able to reach him. Maybe something in the back of his mind clicks and says, ooh, this is a friend. I can trust this person. And she's able to bring him out or at least calm him down enough. Mando Merc, make sure that you when you hit notifications, hit all and everything so that you do. And I do tweet this out on Twitter. I think we follow each other. If we don't, let me know, and I'll try and make sure that you get notified, because YouTube's been acting very hinky lately. I've lost subscribers and everything, and I think it's YouTube playing around with my stuff, and I don't like it. YouTube, with being a butthead. There, that was my mini rant about YouTube.
I would say to Adega's point here, and since Adega has read the comics and stuff, is there something about Velen's? Is she a child of Velen?
She is. Yeah. She has a bloodline that goes back to him.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why the trust. There's a what would you say, a subconscious link because they're related.
That could be. There isn't an answer to this. There really isn't. My thought was, and I was just going to present this to you guys, was that we never, even in the books or the comics, find out the full story of everything that happened on that ship when he was captured. We know more, but not everything. And was he told the whole story there, and then they wiped his memory? So somewhere in the back of his mind, he knows, I'm going to be working with these Minbari. Delenn is important, and I should trust her. We don't know. It was never given. That's my thoughts on it, but you might be right. Maybe there's some type of genetic thing, like you see your grandkid, you're like, man, I'm not going to pop him off. I'm going to give him a hug, I don't know. But I figured I'd throw it out there because that was really odd to me the first time I saw it.
So, yeah. Definitely, that's a very distinct possibility because she's like a great grandkid or something. So, but
it's a good thing they didn't go Star Wars then.
Oh, right. Thank heavens! Yes, really. So. All right, folks. Well, I think that's where we're going to wrap up for today and everything. We'll be back next week, obviously, with another episode of Afternoons with the Ambassador. We'll be continuing our Babylon 5 review. A couple of things on the channel. I will be on Star Wars Rogue podcast stream this afternoon at 3 p.m. Central. We'll be talking about the animated Star Wars Christmas special or holiday special with Boba Fett, and he'll also be doing a tribute to Carrie Fisher, being it is May the 4th. I am putting the link in the chat, and I will include it in the description. A couple other things. This Wednesday, it looks like I'm going to be on Mornings of Mischief with Stone Loki, so be sure to tune in for that. I'm waiting to hear back on particulars for what we're going to be talking about. And then on Wednesday night, I will also be doing my Wednesday night ambassadorial wing, where we'll be talking about a couple of Disney classics. We're going to be talking about Bedknobs and Broomsticks and The Black Cauldron, so be sure to tune in for that. And also, Friday, we'll be having a Friday edition of Afternoons of the Ambassador. It's going to be myself, Loki, and Speaker, and possibly a couple others. And we're going to be talking about Highlander from the 1980s. And then, of course, this Saturday, we'll have Saturday night, 7:30 Central. We'll be having Ambassadorial Wing as well. We'll be talking about Season 7 of the Clone Wars. We'll be discussing that. Oh, and one other thing, I know she's not been in the chat today or anything, but Wednesday night, I will also be on Kathia Starr's channel. She'll be beginning her Buffy the Vampire Slayers series reviews, so be sure to tune in for that as well. I'll be tweeting that out and just sending out on Discord and what have you. So, gentlemen, anything you want to plug before we sign off?
Yeah, at least for me, today in about 10 minutes, I'm going to be on 14 Barber's channel. And if you want spoilers of the books, I think he's going to drag them out of me. I'm finally going to open up about what's going on. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but just, the background and everything. Reason being is because tonight, Mac World Entertainment, formerly Axonar Comics, is going to be showing my epilogue novel on his channel. He's going to start showing that. And there is a lot of stuff in there that if you hadn't read the main 3 books, then it might be a little. We'll have to share some of the stuff. Every time I write, I try and do it where it fills in gaps, but still. So both of those I'm going to do today, and so try and be to both. Fordian is an awesome guy, and we all know Trey. We love Trey. Trey's awesome. He's a wonderful community builder, and I think that's it for me. It'll be a few days before I put another video out, simply because the writing part of it now is pretty intense, and it's just going to be a little bit slower. So anyway,
understandable.
We need more news from Nerd, the Nerd News Network.
Unlike these 2 gentlemen who seem to be very, very busy, I'll get a video out sometime before Christmas. Yep.
Okay. Well, and that's an honest answer, and I can respect that. So, I want to thank everybody for being here today. I really appreciate it. There was something else I was going to bring up. It's slipped my mind now. Crap.
Where? How much? And what color? I'm a doctor. Gotta know these things.
Funny. I mentioned this Saturday night. I'll go ahead and mention it here as well. I'm going to do something special for when I hit 300 subscribers. I'm at 267 right now. So share this out with your friends. If they are lovers of Babylon 5 or anything that I discuss, tell them to check out my channel if they like what I'm talking about, because what I'm going to do for when I hit 300 subscribers, we're going to have our 90s movie or music stream and karaoke night. So if you want to hear me sing badly again with a bunch of other people, let's get me to 300 subscribers. So, but guys, Adega, Nerd, I appreciate y'all being here as always. Thank you. And to everybody in the chat, to my moderator, Shea Storm Dragon, to Mac World Entertainment, Speaker for the Dead, Mountains of Elysium, Fennel Wolf, and Mando Merc, and Sci-Fi Nation, and anybody else that I might have missed. Thank you all for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoy this. To everybody that'll catch this on the replay, I hope you enjoy that as well. Make sure you hit that like button, share this out, and what have you. So y'all have a great day. And again, may the 4th be with you. And we will see you again next week. And I'll see y'all later today. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to mention. Nobody Geek Jesse has got his channel going. Let's Talk Star Trek, and we'll be streaming tonight, I think at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, my time. So be sure to tune in for that as well. So, all right, guys and gals, y'all take care, and until next time, this is the Ambassadors signing off.